Good morning. How's everyone doing? We are back. We are back. Hello. Sorry, I was screwing around with my coffee camera, but I'm here. I'm here now. Good morning. Good morning, Anub. I've been well. I've been well. Hello, Filthy Potato. 2 a.m. here. Might pass out. Oh my goodness. Dude, you got to get some sleep. You've been on the road. Been on the road, my guy. Renee, I like your message. That's probably the most clever way anybody's greeted chat since I've started streaming. I like it. It's very nice. Oh, that makes sense. That checks out. Huh. You show up, pass out, wake up at 2 a.m. in the morning. Well, at least you got some sleep. That's good. Morning. Anonymous. Hey, what's up, Anonymous Panda? Morning. First stream. Just started seeing your shorts pop into my feed 2 days ago. Well, welcome. Welcome to the party. We're glad you're here. We hope you have fun. Hopefully YouTube wasn't too pushy about my shorts content. Drecker, what time do you usually sleep? So my typical schedule is, let's see, right now I wake up at 4:15 a.m. I stream till 7. I do family stuff till work starts. Then I do work stuff till 5 p.m. And then I do family stuff again till 8 p.m. My kid's bedtime's 8 p.m. And then typically I'll fall asleep sometime between like, I don't know, let's say like 8:30 and 10:30. That's typically when I'll go to sleep nowadays. 11. The bedtime honestly, it really depends on whether or not I open up my laptop. If I open up my laptop late at night, like if my kids go to bed and I'm like, oh, I have an idea, and I get on my laptop, I won't go to bed till like midnight, 1 a.m. If I am pretty disciplined and I think, okay, let that idea wait till tomorrow, and I keep my laptop shut, then I'll usually fall asleep sometime between 8 and 10. Morning, Stefan. Thanks for being a member, man. Stefan is like our longest tenured member, I think, on the channel. Sitting with my feet in the swimming pool right now. Ooh, I'm jealous, man. Water sounds nice. Actually, what I really wish I had is not necessarily a swimming pool. I wish I had a hot tub. Hot tub is my jam. Drecker, what time do you lift weights? I lift weights typically most days. It's like mid-morning. So like my kids will get off to school. I will do like 2-3 hours of work till like 10, 11, maybe even as far as noon. But then usually I'll break after like 2 or 3 hours of work. I'll break for an hour, kind of take my like quote unquote lunch because I work from home, and my company's fairly flexible about work time. So then I'll usually take my lunch and I'll go out to the garage and I'll lift. I have a garage gym, so I don't really have to. The logistics of going to the gym for me are basically turning. Right now, they're turning on the heater in the gym and then going out into the garage. So there's really no. One of the nice things about a home gym is there's really never an excuse not to lift weights, or there's not an excuse, at least in my case, to not work out because it's literally 3 steps that way, or you know how many ever steps it really is. Good morning, Suhas. Good to see you, man. Hey, Thunder Deer. Morning. It's lunchtime here. Ooh, lunch sounds good. What are you having for lunch? Fill us in. Give us the details. Give us the details, man. Thunder Deer. I used to run on my lunch, but with the 2-year-old, it's been a while. Hey, dude. I mean, when your kids are young, I actually, when I went to the office yesterday for like our office holiday, you know, it was kind of like our office holiday party, but more low key than that. It wasn't like some big thing. Um, but one of my coworkers just had her second kid, and we were talking about that. And you just don't realize how disruptive having a kid is to like your normal routines. And once they're here, it's really just about doing the best you can, you know? So eventually, I'm sure the running thing will come back around for you, you know? It just takes time, especially when they're little. My back just clicked / cracked. Well, does that mean you're getting old? Good morning, Butterscotch. Good to see you, man. You're having pancakes for lunch? Interesting. Interesting choice. What do I think about Doom? I thought it was a fun video game. I mean, I think that might have been one of the first video games I played was my dad had a family computer, so I think I remember playing Doom 95. Was that a thing? Yeah, Doom 95. This is what I remember playing. I don't know if I ever played the original Doom, but I definitely played this game. So we had a family computer, and I remember me and my brother playing Doom on it, and it was fun. Um, it's not anything I go back and revisit, per se, but question of the day. Pay attention. On a single CPU machine with one hardware thread, can the OS run in parallel to currently executing process? I feel like the answer is no, but there's a little bit of doubt in my mind because both C Sharp and Go, when they talk about concurrency and they talk about threads, it's not necessarily a physical hardware thread. Like there's an abstraction there that I don't totally understand. So I'd have to probably dig into the details. So I'm gonna say no, but maybe the language itself provides some sort of abstraction on top of the single physical thread. I don't know. Let's see. I run in the evening sometimes, but it takes so long. I usually run like 6 or 12K. Oh wow, yeah, that's a huge challenge with running any type of long distance endurance sports. Really, really difficult um, to find. I mean, that's like streaming. It's just difficult when you're a parent or when your life fills up with a lot of obligations. It's difficult to find large, uninterrupted chunks of time, right? So like 2 or 3 hours to stream, 2 or 3 hours to go for a run, right? That's just difficult to do on a regular basis. So I feel you, man. First kid is tough. Second kid, a lot easier. Yeah, I don't know, man. They're all tough. What's hard about kids, Renee, is like they're all different too, right? You think you got it figured out on the first one, and the second one comes along and fucks your shit up. I mean, it's difficult. Suhas, I want to make Doom engine. Nice. In Python. That sounds like it'd be a fun job. First is tough, second is easier, third is even tougher. Yeah, I stopped at 2, so I don't even have to touch the third one. Congratulations, Butterscotch. Finished my systems exam to write assembly code to calculate factorial. My brain hurts. Okay, everyone, clap it up for our good friend Butterscotch, putting in that work. Go, W. Good job, man. I hope you're glad to be done. Take a nice break. Stefan, it's concurrent, not parallel, right? Doom engine is so cool. Yeah, go for it. Even hyperthreading technically just toggles fast enough to make it seamless. Ah, I didn't know that. I like it how jealous the old one gets over the younger one. Yeah, that's always a dynamic. The answer is no, it cannot. A single CPU can only execute one instruction at a time per core. This means that if a process is running, the OS cannot execute instructions in parallel. Well, there we go. I am enlightened. Thank you very much, Stefan. I appreciate you, dude. Trying to make me better. Earn 190. Bro, what are you solving? What is that? So Earn 190, we are solving admin of code, so AOC, which is basically, it's like you can kind of think of like leak code problems, but dressed up in a holiday theme. So yeah, that's what we're doing. We're in the thick of it. Actually, we don't have terribly too much longer to go. We have 7 more days, I think. The 24th. Yeah, 7 more days. So a lot of people are already done, actually. There was only 12 puzzles this year, and a lot of people just did all 12 of them in the first 12 days. And I decided to take the 12 puzzles and split them up into two parts, because there's naturally two parts, and just make them last all 24 days of Advent. Anonymous, got a second kid on the way now, coming this March, and we are trying not to have any expectation of how she will come out. And it's hard too, because you do kind of naturally bring an expectation because of your past experience with your first kid, but you never know. Like I always hear couples where their first kid is a great sleeper and their second kid's a terrible sleeper, or vice versa, and I think that must be really difficult, because if you well, I should say, if your first kid is a great sleeper and your second kid is a terrible sleeper, that really sucks. But if the other way around, if your first kid's a terrible sleeper and your second kid's a great sleeper, well, that's like a present, right? So the hardest thing about, in my opinion, I won't, because I know there's some other parents in the chat, the hardest thing to me about having kids is early on in those first 12 months, even maybe into the first 24 months, depending on your situation, you are just so sleep deprived. And when you are sleep deprived, everything sucks. Work is harder, having a relationship is harder, trying to find time for your hobbies is harder, getting your ass up to go to the gym is harder. It's just, everything is compounded. You're more impatient, you're less emotionally regulated. It's just, it causes all kinds of issues, like ripple effects into your life. I have two girls. Girls are great, well behaved. Our punishment comes down later down the line. So we have girl dads in the chat. Mahish, thanks for subbing, man. I appreciate that. So we have girl dads in the chat, and I'm a boy dad. So I only have sons. So I guess we'll have to try to we'll have to help each other figure out the best way to make sure my boys are the right kind of boys that you would want your daughters to hang out with, you know? You'll have to give me the inside scoop. 3 girls. Damn. Man, you guys are just all about the girl dad stuff life. That's crazy. Anonymous Panda said he has... That's crazy. Are there no boy dads in the chat? That's wild. Give them a shot of whiskey if they struggle to sleep. Here, honey, drink up. I would like to have a boy just because I could act like an older brother to him. I could mess with him all I want. Dude, yeah, having a son is great. I mean, having a son is a lot of fun. Yeah, a lot of fun. A lot of work though too. I think personally I feel a lot of pressure to make sure my sons grow up to be forthright, productive young men, you know, who are capable of sort of creating and assuming their own place in the world. I feel a lot of pressure to make sure that they, you know, I feel a lot of pressure to just make sure that they're men who you want, who you would want to marry your daughter, who you would want to, you know, be somebody you would want to build a business with, right? And I know some of that's not on me, but then at the same time, some of it is, you know. My grandma gave me beer when I had colds. My mom did not approve. Oh, I love that. Akma Haja? I guess there's a few different ways I could say this. I'm just going to start using Google Translate because I sound like a dummy trying to figure out how to pronounce these things.
AC Mahaja.
AC Mahaja. That's what I'm just going to call you. AC Mahaja. Call me AJ? Okay. Hey AJ, good to see you, man. Hope you're doing well. Thanks for stopping by the stream. First time I've seen you here, I think. At least first time I've seen you in my chat. I wanted boys, so of course I only had girls, but of course after they were born, one's outset is just completely different and you learn how to grow the F up. This is true. Me and my wife joke a lot because I met my wife super young. I met her when I was 15, she was 17. And one of the things she always told me was she didn't want to have girls because she didn't want to raise herself, essentially, you know, which she doesn't give herself enough credit. She's a wonderful human being. I'm sure she was a blast of a little kid to raise. But uh, it's funny because then we had two boys, and they are basically almost her reincarnate, like in terms of their personalities. There's just so much of my wife in there. They look a lot like me, but they act so much like her, which I find hilarious. It was like God's joke. uh, do you know? Hey, 6-7 Alaska, good to see you, man. Hope you're doing well. Thanks again for that super chat the other day. That was very very kind of you. Do you know the space travel codes which I write each day and ensure the International Space Station keeps its orbit around the gravitational echo? That sounds intense. I had no idea you had anything to do with International Space Station. I mean, I'm a little skeptical if you do or not, but I mean, you go for it. Google Voice said it wrong. Oh no. I can immediately tell if someone doesn't have kids just by talking to them. Yeah, yeah. Which I don't like it when people who don't have kids take shots at people who have kids. So I don't take shots back at, like, everyone's entitled to live their own life. You don't want to be a parent, don't be a parent. The worst thing that could happen is for a kid to be born to someone who doesn't want to have anything to do with them, right? So if you don't want to be a parent, don't be a parent, And I don't have no shade coming from me. Hey, what's up, Yusuf? Good to see you, man. I don't know whether or not you are good with Java, but would you be able to explain to me old gen versus new gen in memory? It's such a hard topic to find information on, and I can't seem to understand it. So I'm not a Java dev. Primarily write C# and TypeScript, and I just started learning Go, and I know how to write Python, but I avoid writing it. And I'm currently trying to learn Rust too, a little bit on the side here and there. But I don't know anything about that specific topic. There is a gentleman in my chat sometimes. He might show up here, Yusuf. His name is Minister of Defense, and I remember him telling me he's been writing Java, I think, for like a long time, like multiple decades. So it's possible if you see his name show up in chat, you might tag him and see if he's not willing to have a conversation. I'm extremely jealous of couples without kids. I love my girls, but yeah, it's enough now. I mean, I would be lying if I said that at times I'm not envious of people without kids. But I'm not envious that they don't have kids. I'm envious that their life is still their own in a lot of ways. That's what I'm envious about. You know? I don't know if that makes sense. It's just when you have kids, you stop making decisions about what you want to do and what you want to pursue, and you start making decisions about how you can best create stability and long-term security for them. Yeah, it's a trade-off. And so, like, I'll give you a very concrete example. If I didn't have kids right now, I wouldn't be doing programming and coding. I'd be trying to work in strength conditioning. That's what I would try to be doing. I would be trying to get into the collegiate ranks, and hopefully maybe I could work my way into a professional job. But that type of career is so unstable and it's so risky that trying to pursue that with a family is just not good for the family. And so you kind of you start to shift and make decisions around how can I provide economically and financially and still be present, and how do I make sure everyone's taken care of. And so there are times when you think, man, this would if I didn't have these responsibilities, I could do life so much differently. But at the same time, if I didn't have these responsibilities, my life wouldn't be all the wonderful things it is. It's always half a dozen or the other. More happiness with kids, but less freedom, more stress. Exactly. Yeah. And I wouldn't even say it's like stress in the classical sense of like, oh my God, I'm so stressed. It's just stress in the sense of like, I have people counting on me. Like, there's 3 human beings who are counting on me to make sure I provide for them. both in a emotional way, but also in a real tangible, like, don't let them starve kind of way. Earn 190. Bro, do you do job? Yeah, I do. If you're ever curious about my kind of professional history, you can go to my LinkedIn. I have like most of my corporate professional history there on my LinkedIn. So you're welcome to go and take a peek at that if you like to. But yeah, I have a job. I work as a quality engineer for a software company here in Kansas City, and I've been there for I had my 5-year anniversary in August this year. So I've been there for a while. It's good. I really enjoy the people I work for and enjoy the company, the software we make, and the work I do. It's a lot of fun. I'm envious that they have time for themselves. They changed my life for the better. I wouldn't be where I am without them. You're right. I feel you. I feel you. It's a double-edged sword. It's hard too. It's hard for people to understand that two things can be true at the same time. You can be eternally grateful for your kids, right? And love your kids and love being a dad. And at the same time, you can be envious at times of other people's freedom. Both things can be true. And sometimes that's hard for people to understand. Edge Runner Nova. Good morning, Edge Runner Nova. I'm on JavaScript and I'm trying to transition to TypeScript. But when I type TS, my brain switches back to JavaScript. Any advice on how to focus on TypeScript without being biased by JavaScript? That's an interesting question. I've never had anyone frame that to me like that. You might take an approach if you're coming from JavaScript to TypeScript. You might do some projects where you first implement them in a JavaScript way, where like you just throw the any keyword around everywhere. And then once you implement, then go back and type everything. Right? And so that you can start to sort of connect the dots between how do I think about and define types earlier on and build my methods, function, classes, APIs, whatever, around those types instead of the inverse, right? So maybe try that. Maybe start writing TypeScript like you're writing JavaScript, and then refactor it into a typed solution. But it is a change in mindset, that's for sure. Renee, with the firstborn, I had heavy anxiety attacks when I was alone. That feeling of knowing I have to provide for them is a tough learning curve, and then you leave your dress at home and man the F up. Yeah, well, I mean, it's not, I do believe in masculinity, so I don't want to say that like wearing a dress is like a negative thing. I mean, you can wear a dress and be a fucking straight up stone cold badass, right? But yeah, you do man up. You have to. That's the whole gig. As a father, your whole gig is to protect and to provide. And so you have to find a way to get over whatever that anxiety is and go, and make it happen. But yeah, that's definitely thinking back now, thinking it's actually given me a lot of empathy for my own father. There's a lot of times growing up when I just didn't really understand some of the choices and decisions he made. And now looking back, I have a lot more empathy and sympathy for him because it must have been just uber stressful to be, less than 30 years old, 3 kids, and a stay-at-home wife. That must have been really, really stress-inducing, and I didn't really understand that until I kind of had my own. Good morning, Danny. Good to see you, man. Oblivious. Funny option. Try to do typing in JavaScript. See how it slowly becomes tougher to manage. Only then hop to TypeScript and enjoy. Yeah, you could start with JS docs, Try that. Thank you so much. I try while listening. Give it a go, Edge Runner. Neon, I think, is that Ne1 NPO? I don't really actually know how you want that to be said. Are you open to mentoring anyone? I mean, as much as I can mentor someone over YouTube, you know. I just don't know if I'm really the person to do mentoring, right? Like, what do I know? I just don't think I know that much. I'm a 32-year-old dad who likes to make content in his basement, and I'm trying to raise my sons and save for retirement and just navigate this all, just like all of you. So I don't really know if I'm the best person to be giving others advice about how to do something. But I'm always happy to answer questions, if you want to bounce ideas and things off me, more than happy to give my 2 cents. This will sound counterintuitive, but study OOP before picking up TypeScript. You need to understand why TS was created before using it. That's not a bad vibe, although I don't know if I necessarily think static typing is tied to object-oriented programming. I mean, types enhance functional programming. Types enhance just about any paradigm you take. Life is better with them. Mahesh, wow, finally I can comment. I just subscribed 10 minutes ago. It was not letting me comment. I'm in my 40s, was a chef 9 years back, made career change into IT by studying at night college. Well, sorry, I have a thing on my chat that you have to subscribe and wait 5 minutes. Why it made you wait 10 minutes, I don't know, but it's 5 minutes is before you can chat. First of all, I'd just like to give you a clap because that sounds like it was quite the road to travel. So, just like to clap it up for you, man. Chef to IT. That's pretty awesome. I'm sure that was a long and difficult and tough road, so congratulations, dude. I hope you're enjoying it. You talking about me? I'm 29 with 3 kids and a stay-at-home wife. Yeah, you're in the thick of it, Thunder Deer. Yeah, you're just like my dad was. I only had 2 and a stay-at-home wife at 29. But yeah, I feel you. It's a good kind of stress. It's a motivating kind of anxiety, but yeah, I mean, when other people's financial or economic well-being is dependent on your success, it'll focus you for sure. Oh, I made a faux pas about the dress. Sorry. No, I'm not saying. I just don't want people to think that I think that wearing a dress means you can't, man up. If manning up to you involves wearing a dress, you do your life the way you want. MD, setup tour win, no rush though. What do you mean, like setup tour just about like how I stream or just like my dev setup? Yeah, I'm happy to cover anything you guys want. I'm pretty much an open book on that. It's not easy here. Being a stay-at-home wife is really frowned upon where I live. Also, it's always interesting to see the reactions of people when I say what my wife does. That's awful, man. Yeah, people shouldn't shit on stay-at-home wives. Stay-at-home moms, stay-at-home wives, whatever you want to call them. That's a job, man. Raising 3 kids, that's a full-time job. That's more than a full-time job. It's like 2 full-time jobs. So that's really shitty if people throw shade your guys' way. Let's see. Thank you. I work as automation tester. We use Playwright and TypeScript at work. I'm still learning programming, learning Python at the moment, just online YouTube. Do you suggest any best way? So my recommendation is, well, you already know TypeScript, right? So you already know TypeScript. So if you already know TypeScript, maybe it's not very helpful, but I would send you over to Free Code Camp. So if you go to https freecodecamp.org, they've got everything you need. They actually just released a Python curriculum, a brand new Python curriculum. So if you're interested in Python, maybe it would be a good course for you. I think the world of Free Code Camp. So maybe start here if you're interested in Python. They've got all different lessons. You'll build a couple projects that you'll have to show for going through it. So I might at some point do this on stream actually, just to kind of shout out Free Code Camp and the work they do. I might try to go through this curriculum. It's pretty great. There's also a course called Python for Everybody out there. PY4E. That's pretty good. It's taught by a University of Michigan professor. It's pretty good. Also, Mahesh, I do the same kind of work as you, basically. That's what professionally I do. So I do work a little bit with .NET more probably than you do, but yeah, a large portion of my job is maintaining a large library of automation tests written in TypeScript and using Playwright. All right, should we try to solve some admin of code now? I mean, obviously, I'm happy to. Wow, I'm just a junior automation tester. I'll bet you're more capable than you think you are, man. Yeah, if you're doing stuff with Playwright and TypeScript, you're probably more capable than what you give yourself credit for. A lot of the problems you solve while doing automated testing are similar to problems you would solve in production situations, and if a lot of the things you need to understand and know to write really good automated end-to-end tests requires you to have pretty decent knowledge of the client, the browser, how all those technologies work, how websites are built. You need to sort of understand the website, the client side technology that the website you're testing is working against, So I bet you're far more capable than what you think. What if you're in tech support and you want to get more into tangible tech roles, struggling with going back and forth with tutorials on and off? That's tough. So I started in support. That's kind of that my tech journey started as a support analyst. Don't know. I don't know if I have good advice. I mean, Free Code Camp is where I would start if you're really wanting to be something that deals with programming and coding. I feel like Free Code Camp is such a great resource to figure out, one, if you actually enjoy it, right? Because it's very structured. It keeps you on a path. It directs your learning. It helps you kind of put blinders on and ignore all the other noise that's going on around you. So if you're having trouble sticking to tutorials, but you want to learn that skill, that's probably would be a good place to start. But as far as migrating from support to a tangible tech role, the key for me, I'll just say in my evolution was first and foremost, I had to upskill. So I actually had to learn how to do these things. Before anybody would be willing to actually let me do them in a professional setting, I had to learn to do them. And then my strategy was basically I just kept an ear to the ground. And anytime I heard of a project that would allow me to demonstrate my skill to kind of the wider group of people I interacted with at my company, I would like raise my hand, like I'll do that, I'll build that, I'll take care of that, I'll handle that. And then slowly but surely, through acquiring skills and then having a demonstrable track record in the company of doing technical things, the doors open to make those role transitions over time. So that was my path. But it does require you to take a little bit of the onus onto yourself to learn. My wife is a stay-at-home mom, and she is very much in charge of our relationship. I'm actually scared of her. Sounds like a healthy marriage. I'm from Wellington, New Zealand. It's 11:50 a.m. here. Nice. It's 4:56 a.m. here. I'm in Kansas. I'm in Kansas City, Kansas. Also, it is very cold where I'm at now. Let's see what the temperature is. Let's see. Stream Elements is how I check the weather now. It is 34 degrees Fahrenheit. Oh, I guess that's warmer than it has been. I think Monday or Sunday it was like 10 degrees Fahrenheit. Thank you very much. Of course, man. I wish you all the best too on whatever journey you're going on, whatever thing you're trying to accomplish. I would love to see everybody get theirs. So count me as a fan and count me rooting you on. Would love to hear about your journey. Come back and tell us about it. All right, let's see how terrible day 9 is going to be. Oh, we didn't actually download. Hold on. Before we do that, we need to do AOC download day 9. There we go. Okay. You slide down the fire pole. Fireman's pole. I wonder who decided that was the best way to get from the top to the bottom floor. I feel like a slide would be safer and just as fast. Um, you slide down the fire pole in the corner of the playground and land in the North Pole Base movie theater. The movie theater has a big tile floor with an interesting pattern. Elves here are redecorating the theater by switching out some of the square tiles in the big grid they form. Some of the tiles are red. The elves would like to find the largest rectangle that uses red tiles for two of its opposite corners. They even have a list of where the tiles are located in the grid, your puzzle input. For example, 7 and 1, 11 and 1, 11 and 7, 9 and 7, okay? Showing red tiles as pound signs or hashtag signs or number signs. What do we call this? I always call it a hashtag now, but I know like 10 years ago or 15 years ago, people probably called this a pound sign, or maybe a number sign was more common. Oh, how the internet has changed things. And other tiles as a period. The above arrangement of red tiles would look like this. You can choose any two red tiles as opposite corners of your rectangle. Your goal is to find the largest rectangle possible. I guess that's by area. Oh, so hold on. For example, you could make a rectangle shown as 0 with an area of 24 between 2, 5, and 9, 7. Or you could make a rectangle with an area 35 between 7, 1, and 11, 7. Okay. Ultimately, the largest rectangle you can make in this example has an area 50. One way to do this is between 2, 5, and 11, 1. Using red tiles as opposite corners, what is the largest area of rectangle you can make? Okay, so I think this is actually, I don't know, either I'm dumb or they decided to just have a little bit easier of a day, because the grid doesn't even matter really. I mean, you're trying to build a rectangle, so you just want to find the two tiles that are furthest apart, essentially, right? You just want to calculate what is it, x minus x1 minus x2. Yeah, that's all you want to do. So for example, like in this case, right, we have 11 minus 2, which is 9. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. Oh yeah, you have to add 1 because it's inclusive. So you do 11 minus 2 plus 1, and that's your width. And then you do 5 minus 1 plus 1, and that's your height. So I think this is pretty straightforward. You just have to loop over. You're going to have to loop over, create all the pairs, kind of like what we did with the connections on day 8. So we'll create a pair between this guy and this guy, right? And this guy and this guy, and this guy and this guy, and so on and so forth. And then we'll just calculate the distances and keep track of the max. Maybe part 2 will be harder. Let's get, oh, we already got our puzzle input. We need our example. I think this is pretty straightforward. So I think we can pretty much yap all we want today, because we should have plenty of time to solve this, I think. Famous last words though, right? Wow, you live in Antarctica or in Alaska? That's crazy. 6-7 Alaska. Don't copy a code like a boss until you know the code is better than your boss's code. Are you okay, 6-7 Alaska? I feel like recently your messages have become more and more, what's the word? Discombobulated or less, I don't know. They just sound less put together. So I hope you're okay. It's colder in Kansas where I live, and I live way further north. Yeah, so it's colder here in Kansas than it is in Alaska. That's crazy, bro. No, I live in Europe. It's just about the same latitude. Ah, well, yeah, it's cold. It is cold here. Although I personally kind of prefer the cold to the hot myself. My theory on that is that when you are hot, you can only take off so many clothes before you end up naked. So there's only so much you can do to cool yourself down. But if you're hot or if you're cold, you can pretty much put on like an infinite layer of clothing to get warm and blankets and stuff. So I would much rather be cold and have to get hot than be hot and have to get cold, personally. True. Yes. This is a true statement. Let's see. Test solve, or sorry, this would be solve part 1, file path, return an int, and return 0. We'll pop over here, we'll do package main test, and we'll do func test solve part 1. T is a pointer to testing.t, and we'll say expected. What was the expected value? 50? It was 50. And we'll say result equals solution dot solve part 1. We'll start with example.txt. Then we'll just say if the result does not equal expected, then we'll do t error f got %d but wanted %d expected. Then we have to import this. So we have to do a named imports. We'll do solution is github.com/Stephen Freeborn /advent of code 2025 CMD 09. I honestly can't believe we're on the 17th day of December. I mean, basically the rest of 2026 is like, or 2025 is gone. We need to start having some conversations about goals and direction setting for the new year, for sure, at some point. There we go. Now it's time to solve it. Let's go. Mahesh, wow, you don't use Copilot? Well, normally, I mean, when I do like when I'm doing project work, oh, for sure. I mean, Copilot's wonderful. What a wonderful tool, right? But I turn it off for Advent of Code because most of these problems under the hood test some fundamental like either math or data structure and algorithm thing, and likely the LLM has been trained on solutions to it. So 9 times out of 10, Copilot can just like one shot the solution, or at least get very close. So I turn it off to avoid that, because the point of doing this stuff is to challenge yourself and have fun, right? So I turn it off. But yeah, normally in every day-to-day programming, yeah, I use Copilot 100%. Although I do get kind of frustrated with Copilot because sometimes it feels like I'm talking to somebody who's trying to finish my sentences for me, but is picking the wrong words that time. So sometimes I just turn it off so I can like think about what it is I actually want to write. But it's wonderful for stubbing out tests really fast. It's wonderful for writing boilerplate code like stubbing out a controller in .NET. I mean, anything like that. It's a fantastic tool for those things. Discombobulated? I don't know. I made it up. I think nowadays it's a hashtag. Cool. We'll go with hashtag. I like it. Great. This is how I want to learn. Yeah, I think if you're learning, you should definitely think about turning AI off. You should think about turning AI off until you feel like you have some of the language and the syntax kind of in your fingertips, right? Like if you can, once you can write a for loop and you can implement some very basic syntax, right, without really thinking about it, without it being really natural, I would keep Copilot off. Doesn't mean you can't use AI. I just think you're going to want some reps at actually typing the code manually yourself. Thunder Deer, are you having a stroke, Alaska? That's kind of how it comes across at times. I do know how to code, but I push people that are learning. Not all code works, but 1 of 100 like advent of code. Okay. Yeah. I read that and I think, thank you for letting me know. It's just a junior that you're also forced to teach. Yeah, for sure. I mean, it definitely can help. I mean, it probably helps even more than like a junior would that doesn't know anything, because it knows it's basically seen every variation of programming and coding that probably has ever existed. It's just at times it's like, dude, slow down. Let me think about what I want to type. What is your advice if someone like me is new to programming? How can I make use of Copilot and other AI to learn programming? Okay, when I started to learn how to code, ChatGPT was not out. It didn't come out for another 2 years. But if I went back and had to learn how to code today, I think what I would do is I would use the problem with it. The problem with AI is you have to be very disciplined about how you use it when you're learning, right? Because it's very easy to just ask AI and AI will just tell you the question. So if you want to use, or tell you the answer. So if you want to use AI to learn, you have to be very like intentional about the way you prompt it so that it acts more like, so that it uses more like the Socratic method to answer your questions, right? Answering your question with another question versus just telling you, oh, this is how you solve that problem, right? And I think that's the difficult part with it. But you can definitely use it that way, right? So if it was me, I would use AI as like a Google search, right? That might be helpful to like look up things, tell you things, answer questions about the language or the technologies you're using. But then when it comes down to actually implementing solutions in code, I would try to avoid asking the AI until you're like super fucking stuck, right? I think use AI the same way you would kind of use Stack Overflow, where don't just reach for the easy button right off the bat, like struggle with something, then reach for the easy button. And then when you do reach for the easy button, make sure that whatever the Stack Overflow post or whatever the AI tells you, that you do like understand the code. You understand why it wrote what it wrote and is doing what it's doing. Again, though, a lot of this comes down to it comes down to your own discipline as a learner, which is kind of shitty. I don't super believe in just relying on individual discipline, but is what it requires. You could use all that for Claude Code, by the way. Opus is supreme. I've never used Claude Code. I've used Claude. I've used Opus, like the chat, but I've never used their code product myself. I like Copilot CLI and I already pay for Copilot. And I pay for Gemini, and Gemini has the CLI now, so I just use those. But nice to know that Claude is good. It's in your best interest to force your brain to create those hard to learn thinking patterns. Yeah, it is. I think it's too easy for AI to steal your reps, and the reps are what help you get more competent and more confident in your abilities. Without those reps, you'll never have the confidence or the competency to feel comfortable speaking up in a room full of people who are competent and confident in their knowledge about programming and coding, because you'll always be kind of second guessing yourself. You'll always what'll happen, I think, is a lot of times if you use AI too much, you'll find yourself in this place where it's like before you answer any question, you're like turning to Gemini. Well, what does Gemini think? What does Claude Code think? What does Copilot think? What would they do? And you're always like second guessing yourself because you've kind of like deferred your knowledge and your competence and confidence to the LLM, right? It's like, well, I just go what they say. I just double check everything I think against what they think. And I think that leads to a lot of self-doubt and probably even worse, imposter syndrome. Mahesh, thank you. Of course, Mahesh. Of course. I'm happy to always... I mean, my takes could be completely wrong. I'm just a regular person like you, you know? Claude Code is definitely my go-to. I pay the pretty penny. Yeah, I remember actually when you were walking me through your workflow with Claude Code, we were talking about that you pay for the max plan. But if you get value out of it, especially if it helps you write code that makes, and that code makes you money, it's a worthwhile investment. You'll enforce the feeling of being in a sea of unexplainable and delegating your trust. Exactly. You last. Good point. Yeah, you don't. That's a horrible feeling to have, to not have confidence in the things you know. But you only really get confidence in the things you know when you really own that knowledge, right? So if you're just getting that knowledge through a third party, whether that be an LLM or Google search or whatever third party, you don't really own it, and therefore you don't really feel confident to stand behind it or speak it or answer questions on the fly. So you just end up in this place where like you sort of somewhat know programming and coding, but yet you're always second guessing what you know. Hey, what's up, 199? Good to see you. Hope you're doing well. Still need to finish off my book and do coding gym reps. Nice. Well, we're getting our reps in right here now, so that's what we're trying to do. Make your code work like a liner code. We all learn how to code. Example, 3 parts of code is no longer. I have no... 67 Alaska, you obviously are... I don't know if you're a bot, I don't know if you're a human being, but some of your messages, man, they've got me scratching my head. But you're welcome to keep sending them. I might ignore them, though. Tyler, I'm doing a group project building a Unity game with a friend, and he used AI to build the whole project in 2 days without knowing a single line of code. I don't know what I should feel about it. Well, I think you should feel excited for your friend. Maybe that's the unlock for him to get interested in building stuff, right? And there's definitely people who have built huge careers and huge businesses on no-code, low-code tools. So why wouldn't there be people who build huge businesses, successful businesses on vibe-coded projects, right? I think that's a real thing. I think, though, there's something to be said about building a really complex system and project and something going wrong and then not understanding how to work with it or take care of it. But maybe that doesn't matter to your friend. Fourth code is best. Really, I am a bot. I asked you to accept my request for Discord. See, that message, 67 Alaska, the message you just sent came through as an intelligent human being. But some of your prior messages, they're just confusing. I don't know how to explain it. Maybe chat can explain it. It's just some of your messages don't seem coherent. So apologies. Apologies if you find that offensive. It's not meant to be offensive. It's just confusing to me. Muaz, hello Muaz, how are you? Hey, in your opinion, what's the best AI ID? By the way, how are you doing today? I'm doing well, first of all. Yes, I'm doing great. No complaints. I'm healthy. My wife's healthy. My kids are healthy. We got hot running water, food in the pantry. It's yeah, we're better than I deserve. I'm doing better than I deserve, probably. Uh, hey, in your opinion, what's the best AI ID? So I can't really offer what is the best because I haven't used them all. Like I haven't used anti-gravity. I've not used cursor. Uh, what are some of the others? There's probably two or three. Windsurf. I don't know if Windsurf's still a thing since Google bought a lot of the people and IP that were behind that project. Uh, I haven't so I haven't used everything, so it's hard for me to say like this one's the best. I will say the closest thing I use to those tools is Copilot in VS Code or Copilot in Visual Studio, and I think they're great. I think it's great. I think it does a wonderful job, and I don't really have any issue getting it to do what I want it to do. I primarily use it to add XML doc comments to my code or JS doc comments to my code. I ask it to write readmes a lot. I ask it to explain code quite a bit. I don't do a ton with it. I don't do a ton like agentic coding where I ask it to actually like write out complete features, right? I might ask it to like stub out some tests or stub out like a rough implementation, or I might ask it like based on the code that you see here in the editor, what do you think would be a good approach? I use it a lot for things like that, but I don't do much like in the way of agentic development. I find it overwhelming, honestly, when AI changes like 30 files and I don't know exactly what the fuck it changed and I have to go read all 30 files. So I don't use it a lot in that way. I heard Cursor is good, but never tried. Yeah, I've heard good. One of the YouTubers I follow, his name's WebDev Cody. Let me give him a shout out really quick. He uses Cursor, I think, and when I watch him code on stream and in his videos, it looks like a really nice tool. It looks like it has a really good feature set, and yeah, no, yeah, I don't never like I said, I've never used it before, so I hate to pass any kind of judgment. But WebDev Cody uses it, and you can actually watch him work with it on live stream and a lot of his videos. So if you're curious about it, you might go check out his channel. I like good old console as my ID. Nothing wrong with that. I've never used Manu. That's another AI tool? I don't think I've ever used that. OX block. What are you building? We are doing Advent of Code, my good friend. AOC, which is basically like leak code style holiday problems. I wonder if stream elements will work. If I send a stream elements command and tag somebody, does it still work? Ah, yeah, there you go. I just remembered my friend is using Cursor. Well, there you go. So Cursor can help somebody build a whole Unity project. So there you go. Could be helpful. All right, let's try to solve this thing. Then we can make some coffee. So our input is going to be file.read all lines. We don't actually need to read all lines. What we need is I'm going to put a type in here. We'll do type. This will be coordinate. Actually, we could do. I already have a. Yeah, hold on. I'm gonna do type point. Let's see, x is an int, y is an int. And this actually doesn't need to be public. Actually, none of these need to be public. And then what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna say we're gonna have a slice of points. Oops. This. and then we're going to loop over. So we're going to say for line range over file dot read lines, passing the file path. And for each of these lines, we are going to split it into parts. Strings.split, and we're going to split it on a comma. That's a line like that. Why is this complaining? Oh, so I need to give it a name. Points. Good old Golang. Yeah, we're doing Golang. I started learning Golang on the 1st of November, so I'm relatively new to it, but so far, no complaints. Seems like a nice language. And then our X is going to be stir convert.atoi parts 0. And this actually returns 2 values. We'll ignore 1, y. I think that's how the coordinates are given, right? X and y. X and y. Okay, and then we actually don't even need to build a list. We just need the max. So we can start the max at 0, and then we can just return the max. What is the largest area of a rectangle? Sorry, not max, area. Oh wait, this isn't gonna work. I do need the list because I have to create combinations, so I do need the list. And then we'll do point equals point where x is x and y is y. And then we'll do points append point. This. And then let's just print those out, make sure we have all the right looking results. One, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. I think we wanted 8, right? 1, yeah, 8. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. Yep, 8. Okay. And then we just basically need to now combine them all. So we'll have 2 loops. I don't really think there's I know this is O of n squared time, but I don't really think there's a way to solve this without doing nested loops like this. So we'll just do the classic ij. So we'll say I is 0, and then we'll say I is less than the length of the points. We will say increment I like this. I'm actually going to say number of points equals length of points. And then we can say for j, but j is going to be offset, and we're going to say I plus 1. And then we'll do j is less than number of points, j plus plus, like that. So this is basically the same exact loop. Oh, we can change this to actually be a range, can't we? This is actually the same exact loop we wrote for 8. Here we go. In all possible connections, right here. It's the same exact loop. We're just making we're just matching up all the points to one another, so we can calculate the area that they produce. So nothing fancy there. The one thing we do want to do though is this is where we want to keep track of our max, or our area, sorry. So we'll say largest area. We'll start that at 0. And then in here, what we want to do is we want to actually calculate. So we'll say, I guess we'll just do, I'll just do start and end. So I'll say, let's see, start is going to be equal points at I, and end is going to be equal to points at J, right? And then we need to calculate the area, and the way we calculate the area is first we want to calculate the x diff, or no, let's not call this x diff, let's call this width, right? That's more appropriate. So the width is always going to be, let's do end.x minus start.x. Now the thing is though, we don't know, based on the way the points are given to us, we actually don't know if the end always comes after the start. So we actually have to do an absolute, right? We have to do mass dot absolute like this. And I think this needs to be casted. 64. Which I think this will also return a float. Yeah. So we'll do, and then height is going to be equal to math.absolute float 64. See, I'm suspicious that either I don't understand the problem or something is off, because this seems way too straightforward compared to the last 2 days. Day 8 and day 7 were pretty difficult. Day 6 part 2 was really difficult. And then we just calculate the area. So then we say A equals width times height, like so. I'm going to cast these back to ends here. Like that. And then now we're just going to do a check. We're just going to say if A is greater than the largest area, we'll track it. So we'll set largest area equal to A, and then we'll return the largest area. All right, let's see what happens. Let's give it a go. Got 36, but wanted 50. Well, I guess that wasn't as simple as I thought. I guess let's do format.println, calculate it, or let's say area is A for point, or for start and end. Put some spaces in here, make it a little bit more readable. Should have so I don't see 50 in there. So what have I messed up? Oh, no, that's right. End x minus start x, end y minus start y. and then multiply. So why am I not ending up with 50? Look at me, I was so confident that I knew what the fuck I was doing. Okay, so 2, 2, 5, and 11 and 1 should be 50. Let me find those. 2, 5. Let's see, here's 11 and 1. Okay, so here's the one that's giving us 36. So why is it giving us 36? So 11 minus 2. Oh, because we didn't add the offset. That's why. And I said that. I said that, didn't I? So we actually need to do x minus y plus 1. Because the tiles themselves have a width, and so it's inclusive. So when we calculate the difference, we have to add back a 1. Am I missing a? Yeah, I'm missing a parentheses. There we go. It got 40 but wanted 50. Well, what the fuck? So 11 minus 2 should be 9, plus 1 should get us to... Oh. We need to do this after we take the absolute. So we should do it here. This is where this should be separate in the separate helper function. And I should just call it once, right? There we go. There we go. ULAS. Why not use tmux though? You mean why don't I use tmux? I'm on a Windows machine, right? You know that, right? ULAS? I don't think tmux works on Windows machines. But Windows Terminal basically does. I mean, Windows Terminal doesn't have the session feature, but it does allow you to split panes and have multiple panes and multiple windows and multiple, all that kind of stuff. The session, I guess the session feature of tmux is pretty cool if you're doing a lot of like, you SSH into this place and SSH into that place, and then you want to exit and leave and come back and resume your state of where you were. But for what I do, that's not really a big part of my workflow. But for what I do, Windows Terminal is perfect for what I need to do. Hey, Born to Shine, good to see you. Also, I didn't tell you, ULAS and Born to Shine, both of you. Thank you both for being members. I just want to make sure I call that out whenever you guys show up in chat. I'm gonna remove the point. I'm not gonna abstract this at all. I'm just gonna say struct of x int and y int. How do I just declare an inline struct? Like that? Yeah. How do you... Runtime. Oh, I was waiting for the speech to text. It never played. First of all, thank you very much for that super chat. I don't know why the speech to text didn't work. Thank you so much. This is too kind. That's way too much, man. You don't have to super chat me. I mean, if you want to, that's awesome. I super appreciate it. I'll take it, but you don't have to feel like you need to. I don't know why the speech to text didn't go off. Let's see if I can do it again. Huh. Yeah. It didn't play. We have to fix that. I mean, I can't be a streamer without speech to text. Let's see. Stream elements. Patisa, thanks for subscribing. I appreciate it. It's very kind of you. Yeah, it should only be $1. Huh. Okay, that was a test. That was a test one.
Howdy, my name is Bill.
I don't know, something about your message. It doesn't like something in your message. I'm not sure why. Whenever I try to put that text in, it doesn't want to say it. Or maybe it's your username? Do you think it's your username? Now we're troubleshooting stream elements. No, I think it's your message. I think something in that message is tripping it up. Alaska.
A different algo.
Yeah, it's something about runtime and runtime class that it doesn't like. Isn't that fascinating? Huh. That's super, super fascinating. Alright, let's see if this actually solves it for our actual input. Man, today's a good day. I solved my advent of code lickety split. I got a $5 super chat. this stream is happening. All right, let's get our drum roll music ready. Drum roll. Oh, I actually need, before I can do anything with the drum roll, I have to actually add a test for it. Do here. This is with example inputs, and this is with input. So we don't know what the expected is, so we'll just do -1. We'll do input. Twisted. Oh my god, it happened. I made it. Well, good to see you, Twisted. How are you? Have you been trying to make a stream for a little while? It's good to see you, man. I know my schedule's not the most conducive for people being able to get here, especially if you're in like a nearby time zone. I'm in Central Standard Time, so I understand. If you're like plus or minus 2 hours on either side of me, it's still pretty early. It's either really late or really early, depending on how you look at it, either side of me. So I get it. But thanks for being here, man. I appreciate you making the effort. Alright, let's do our tests, and we'll see what comes out. Okay, this is what we got. So, drum roll, please. Hey! Let's go. That was such a fucking needed break from yesterday. The last 2 days. The last 2 days had me so fucked up. So I do kind of know what I'm doing. Yeah, I've been trying to make it for a couple months. I'm in EST. By 6:30 a.m. is not my cup of coffee. I feel you, dude. I feel you. Yeah, 6:30 is early. I mean, no matter how you slice it, and 4:30 is even earlier than that. So yeah, I get it. But I appreciate you being here. I appreciate making the effort. I hope you have some sort of caffeinated beverage to accompany you today. Okay, so we're gonna not do part 2. So that was wonderful. That was wonderful. We solved it. That we can, I guess, work on that website, that Stripe integration website. What is that? That's like 4 billion. It's a big number. It's a lot of zeros. Stefan, have you done the problem? I did. We just did it, man. We just completed it. Let me run all my tests now. Go test. Everything passes. I wonder how long it takes for it to run without the cache. Let's clear the cache real quick. Go test, or no, go clean. Yeah, clean. And then go test. Pretty fast. Like, it looks like the slowest solution I have are like a second. That's not terrible. I'm sure there's some optimizations in some of those. It's not bad though. I'm also sure that Go is doing a lot of heavy lifting for me there. If I wrote the solutions in Python or JavaScript, it probably wouldn't be quite as speedy. Oh, Stripe. Literally wrapping up our Stripe integration on my personal project this week. Getting the DB right is kind of a challenge. Laugh my ass off. Yeah, I've never used Stripe before. So that's I'm building like a very simple buy me a coffee website so that I can kind of understand how you do like a basic checkout payments flow using Stripe's API. So we'll see how that goes. It could go horribly wrong, or it could go horribly right. And in any event, I'll have learned something on the other side of it. Because I've never personally done that. Actually, I've never personally connected anything I've built over the last 4 or 5 years. I've never connected it to any sort of payment solution. So in the future, if I ever want to build software that people actually pay me to use, it would be nice to know how to do that. All right, we'll update our README. Yeah, I can recover it. That's fine. Hey, what's up, Volt? Good to see you, man. How are you? If you got questions, ask them while I'm here. I don't got all the answers, but two smooth brains together can make a wrinkle. That is very true. I don't have any questions at the moment because I haven't gotten into the actual Stripe integration piece of it. Hold on, why? Where's... That's not right. Get status. Get restore readme. There we go. I guess when I recovered that from that swap file, it got rid of my day 8 comment. This was such a nice break from, or I guess I should say, part 1 was such a nice break from the madness of day 8. Yeah, but I don't have many questions about the Stripe thing yet because I haven't actually gotten to implementing it. I've done a little bit of reading of their docs, but I haven't actually started implementing the Stripe portion. But if I do, I'll know where to find you. I just realized my watch is on backwards. Anonymous Panda. Stripe is one of my company's competitors. Oh, really? So who is your, without doxing yourself, then who is the recommended payments solution for developers to use? Solve day 9, part 1. I thought... Oh, because I haven't pushed it up. That it was asking me what I wanted the remote to be. Cool. If you're just doing coffee thing, you don't have too much of an issue if you leverage their portal instead of full implementation. Yeah, see, I want to do a full one. So I want to do I want to actually have sort of a custom checkout experience. So I'm not going to just use, I think I'm going to use their embedded elements, but I think I'm going to not use the portal to do it. But I guess I shouldn't really say that because I don't even know if I understand correctly what I've chosen to do, because I haven't actually done it yet. So we're going to find out. We're going to learn a lot. Definitely depends on the business type. Just doing something small is definitely probably a Stripe solution. My company focuses on much larger companies and enterprises. Yeah, not me. I'm just a small time guy in Kansas. So no need for enterprise level solutions. Good morning, Neil. Good to see you. How are you? If you have to do entitlement, it's an entirely different ball game by a lot. That's what's killing me. I have a Discord bot and a website for the bot, and getting the different plans is difficult. What are entitlements? I don't think I know what that word means. Are we looking at a TUI of sorts? On the advent of code, other screens seem diff. Oh, this? Yeah, this is NeoVim, and then I had LazyGit open inside NeoVim. LazyGit is like a TUI for managing your Git repository, and NeoVim is a terminal-based editor. So LG, yeah, this is LazyGit inside NeoVim. Oh, okay. Yeah, that seems complicated, Twisted. So you almost have to like, you have to have some sort of mapping, right, between the Stripe plan that somebody purchased and like roles or permissions in your application. That seems tough. Hey, good morning, Minister of Defense. Sorry, I completely missed it, man. I apologize. I understand now why I never want to be in management. Are you still having a rough go of it? Is your boss still gone? That sucks, dude. I actually mentioned you earlier. There was somebody here who was asking about, what was it, chat? It was like new gen memory or old gen memory in Java and the difference between these two things. And if I'm not mistaken, I think you told me you've been writing Java for like a really long time. So I told him, well, we'll just wait for Minister of Defense to get here and you can ask him your questions. But that guy's probably moved on by now. He's probably scrolled on. Neil, oh nice. Thank you for the breakdown. Of course, yeah. The NeoVim is awesome and LazyGit is awesome. Both those things are awesome and you stick them together and it's double awesome. Math, TM. I'm a Go dev. I used to write Java. Ah, okay. I see. Java, my old best friend that I broke up with. Yeah, I've never written any Java, but I kind of feel like as much as I love coffee, I feel like I sort of feel like I have an obligation to become a Java developer at some point. Go make a Minecraft plugin, then move on with your life. I love that. I love it. I love it so much. All right. Well, admin of code is done for today, so I think we'll make our coffee and then maybe we can work on that other website for a bit. So let's cd into that guy, and let's cd into this guy, and let's give it a couple split panes here. So Alt-Shift+. Oops, that's the wrong one. Control-Shift-W. I want to split pane down. Alt-Shift-. Alt-Shift-. There we go. And we are going to go here. And go into the source and into... no, that's fine. We can say here. So we'll say .NET watch this. And then we'll cd into our source and our client. And we'll get that running. I think this is on localhost 7141. Neil Thompson, love a good sequence of keyboard shortcuts. Yeah, I'm really not particularly good at keyboard shortcuts, but it does feel good when you when you get more comfortable with your keyboard shortcuts. I mean, when I watch somebody like the Primogen work in NeoVim, I'm just like, my mind is blown away. Like, how does somebody remember all those movements? I think there's modern Java now. It looks quite a bit different. I stopped coding in Java at Java 8. Ah, okay, I see. What an absolute Chad using Vim. No, Pola, thanks for subscribing. I am the furthest thing from a Chad in the programming world that has ever fucking existed. I'm the slowest, most like methodical programmer and developer you've ever seen. I probably drive people nuts with how slow I am. But I do know some Vim motions now. I do know some. All right, let's see. So we're back to working on our client here. Why is there another program may be editing the same file? If this is the case, be careful not to end up with two different instances. When was this edited? Sunday the 14th at 21:58. I want to edit anyways. That's fine. This is our very ugly website. All right, coffee time. So let's make some coffee and then we'll do some styling. Tensor Vala, you there on LinkedIn? Yeah, you can actually type !LinkedIn or go to linkedin.stephenfreeborn.com and that'll take you to my profile, and I would be happy to connect with you on LinkedIn. All right, I'm not actually leaving. I just have to step away to set up the coffee cam, and then I'll be right back. So give me one sec. I just got to make sure the coffee cam's up and running. Danny, did you start with Vim? Oh, hell no. No, I started in VS Code. And up until February, like January, February this year, I still do use VS Code. Although I do have Vim Motion set up now in every editor I use. So if I use Visual Studio, I have Vim Motions in there. If I open Writer, I have Vim Motions there. I don't think I'll ever use an editor without Vim Motions ever again. Twisted, I've been coding 7+ years now, and Vim isn't a real option for me since I started out as an iOS dev. Nowadays, I just kind of code anything and everything. That sounds wonderful, man. I am like the most agnostic person when it comes to the tools you use. I think you should use the editor that you like. You should use the programming language you enjoy. You should use the tech stack that lights up your day. You know, like obviously we all have jobs and you have to do what your job tells you to do. But when it's your own personal choice, when you get to make the decision, I say use the tools you enjoy working with and let tech Twitter be damned. All right, I'll be right back. I'm going to set up the coffee cam. Echo, turn on the basement lights. Alright, here we go. Man, your profile is pretty legit. I've put up a rec. Well, I don't know if my LinkedIn profile is legit, but it is it is what it is. Alright, to the coffee station. Ready? 3, 2, 1. I think it's going to be a black screen to start with, but give it a moment. 3, 2, 1. To the coffee station. It's also not day 16, is it? It's day 17. Open. Up. Well, we're just gonna have to live with the white background there. Let's see, why is my camera not showing up? Why is my camera not showing up? We're having technical difficulties, folks. Please hold your horses. Why is that not working? Hold on. Let me go check that. There we go. All right, now we're live. Now we're live. All right. Time to fix us some coffee. I'm gonna pull up chat on my phone. If you guys were here, I would definitely make a cup of coffee for you guys, but unfortunately, we are separated by both time and space. And you do espresso? I do. Normally, that's actually normally what I do. I usually don't make coffee on stream. We're just making coffee on stream because I bought this coffee advent calendar. Normally, I just run upstairs and get a shot of espresso. Or two, maybe a couple shots of espresso. I actually got a really nice espresso machine this year, actually. I had been buying like cheap $100 espresso machines, but this year I bought a nice Breville machine that I really enjoyed using. I'm gonna go walk my doggo and get some breakfast. Be back in a little bit. Okay, see you, Stefan. Be safe walking, man. Have a good morning. Real talk, Steven. You mentioned the Primeagen, and in my opinion, what drew me to your channel is your chill manner. I feel like as far as devs are concerned, you're the most real and relatable dev on YouTube. Oh, that's super nice, man. I do try to be real and relatable. I mean, I'm just a regular dude like you guys. You know, I just like to make content in my basement from time to time. So, yeah, I think I really actually enjoy the Primeagen stream. I think his personality comes off pretty strong, but I think there's actually a lot of depth to him as a person, and so I really appreciate the content he makes. I don't think people would think we would probably get along because he seems to have such a higher, like his setting seems to be turned up a little bit higher than mine, but he seems like a nice guy. But I do try to have my vibe is kind of try to be a chill, calm human being. So I'm glad that's coming through somewhat in my content. Yeah, I do think, I mean, there's when you're making content, you sort of feel pressure sometimes to have a personality, you know? And it's hard to not give in to that pressure. Steven spoke about you earlier this morning. Yeah, I did. What time is it where you live? It is currently 6 a.m. See, make sure I didn't miss anything. Bro, you look buff as heck. I'm not buff. I just have a dad bod. I lift weights. Oh.
ChatGPT, love that guy. Yeah, ChatGPT is pretty helpful. That's actually how I refer to it now, is ChatGPT, thanks to Primeagen. What did you do before you became a developer? I was a food scientist, so that was my first. Well, I had a couple. I kind of had a couple careers. So I was a personal trainer, and I opened a small personal training gym that I ran for 2 or 3 years. So I personal trained and I worked in the ER as a medical scribe. Then my first corporate job was as a food scientist, and I did that for 5 or 6 years. And then from there, I moved into a tech company, and I've had several different roles at that tech company. I was originally a support analyst, then I was a QA analyst, and then finally I moved into kind of an engineer position. So it's kind of been an evolution in the current company I work for. But before this, I was doing basically what developers do for software, but I was doing that for food, is kind of the best way to put it. All right, loud noises. Would help if I plug this in. I don't know if you guys knew this, but to run a grinder, you have to have it plugged in. Well, that was perfect timing, wasn't it? The water kicked off right as I turned my grinder off. My work history is wild. I tell you, I'd love to hear about it. Yeah, I love to hear about people's background. It's one of my favorite things to do when I meet new people, is like confess their whole life story from them. I want to know everything. I want to know how you got here, how you decided that, you know, I want to know all the details. Give me all the details. I think I got that from my grandma, my mom's mom. My mom's mom was like that. She would just, anyone she would meet, she would just like, she had this way about her where she was very good at getting people to talk and tell her basically everything about their life. And I seem to have picked up that trait. Danny, so you picked up Go as your first language? No, actually my very first language. So when I was going to college for biochemistry, I took Programming 1 and Programming 2 as electives just to fill out my schedule. Just really out of curiosity more than anything. And I actually fell in love with it. I remember I was a senior. It was like my senior year fall semester. I would stay up till like 1 or 2 in the morning working on my homework. And we learned in those classes, we learned C#. And at that point in time, you could basically only do Windows development on a Windows box. And I had a MacBook. So I had to ask my father-in-law. My father-in-law gave me like an old desktop PC and he had in his house, and I used that to do my homework and do my lessons on. So C# was really the first programming language I was introduced to. And that would have been like 2014, 2015. And then I didn't really touch programming or coding again until maybe the fall of 2020, spring of 2021. And that's when I went really far down the free code camp rabbit hole and got super into JavaScript, all the basic web technologies, HTML, CSS. And then kind of on a parallel path to that, I was also picking C# up again. So that's why my primary languages typically is C# and TypeScript. And then I learned Python as a way to do data analysis and to do some to build. I wanted to build an SDK, a Python SDK for a particular API. So I learned Python to do that. And then Go was the most recent language we picked up. And we just did that so that advent of code this year would be different than it has been in past years. Keep him away from my wife. Holy crap, Steven's arm is my thigh. No, it's not that big, I promise you. What if you are mid to late 30s and you want to get more tangible tech? Oh, I think I answered that, didn't I? Is it late? I think I answered this question. Is it late, especially if you want to start a family soon? Oh man, that's tough. I just not having all the context of your situation. I don't think late 30s is too late to do anything. I mean, you hear about people who are like 60 or 70 years old running their first marathon. Like if somebody can run their first marathon at 60 or 70 years old, you could probably learn to start coding and programming when you're 60 if you wanted to. As far as though starting a family, that adds a dynamic into it that's hard to say, right? Because usually when you make a career change, you have to be willing to sort of go backwards in terms of your like earnings, if that makes sense. Like usually you've worked in one field for 10 years and so you have all this experience and seniority. And so when you switch fields, it's sort of like becoming a junior again. And a lot of times you have to take a step back in terms of compensation, which obviously could affect your plans on wanting to have a family. So I don't think it's too late, but I do think there's probably some considerations there to take into account for whatever your guys' personal goals are. Hey, good morning, Ahmed. How are you? I think there are two types of programmers, those born and those taught for it. The litmus test for which is taking 100 million to never code again or 1,000 an hour for coding. That's not a bad litmus test. You sound exactly like someone I'd play Halo with. Oh, Halo was a blast, man. Halo 3. That was the peak. Yeah, it really sucks that for whatever reason the Halo devs just did not want to give us a BR. For whatever reason. First time viewer here, already mentioned the Primogen, Golang, and advent of code. Yeah. Yeah, well, what can I say? There's an overlap. First time I saw C# was on Breaky's YouTube channel when he used it in Unity. Yeah, see, I love C#. I don't know who that YouTuber is, but I love C#. That's actually kind of one of my pet projects with my content is to try to get C# and .NET not like popular, but I want to try to help contribute to this idea that .NET and C# isn't just for enterprise like old white guys, even though I'm now becoming an old white guy. But yeah, I'm just trying. I want to help people understand like C# and .NET is cross-platform. It's a really great language. It's constantly evolving. It's got modern functionalities and features. You can do functional programming in it. I know not classic functional programming, but you can do functional things in it. You can do object-oriented things with it. It's got a great ecosystem. So that's kind of one of my hobby horses is evangelizing for C#. I went to a coding boot camp for a while, working full time, having a wife and toddler just last year. Never too late to learn. Just have to make sacrifices and work hard. Isn't that the truth? That about sums up life. You want to accomplish anything meaningful in life, you got to be willing to work hard and sacrifice. I graduated college at 27, started a family. I've had a ton of success starting late. Age has wisdom, and that can only be learned. It's definitely applicable to be a dev, 100%. What day are we? We're day 17. Danny, so how did you abandon C#? I didn't abandon C#. I just didn't want to do. I've done advent code the last 2 years in C#, and so I wanted to do it in a different language this year, and I thought it would be fun to do it in a language I didn't know already. And so that's how we ended up in Goland for a little bit. What's the coffee? Anything special? Oh, Bobby Bills, good morning. I actually haven't Coffee Geek here. We haven't actually looked at the card. Let's see. Today's coffee. Where did it go? I think I put it in the back of the box. Yesterday was Ethiopian. The company that made this is very cool. If you're a coffee geek, you need to go check out this brand. If you're a coffee geek, let me show you this. If you're a coffee geek, this is the Advent calendar they sent. So you get 24 days. Each day is a different coffee. This company is called Onyx Coffee Labs. I linked to them in the description of the stream. I have no affiliation with them other than I just think their brand is cool and they have good coffee. But if you're a coffee geek, you would love their stuff. Okay, so today's coffee is from Kenya. So we're back on the African continent. And the tasting notes are apple, green grape, mango, and melon. And if you go to the link that I have in the description, there's like a whole video about the coffee, and they talk about like how they recommend brewing it and all kinds of cool stuff like that. All right, to the office. Chat, don't stay out there. You guys come in here. Come in the office.
What a trip that was. Twisted sponsored. I wish it was sponsored, man. If Onyx Coffee wanted to sponsor me, I'd be like, sign me up. If any coffee company wanted to sponsor me, I'd probably agree to it. But the coffee I buy the most is from this company called 8 O'Clock Coffee. I just buy like this really big bag that they sell at Walmart. So if they want to sponsor me, I'll happily take your coffee. I can't imagine ever having any sponsors for my YouTube channel, you know? I'm just a tiny little channel. Can't imagine that ever being a thing. I can smell that coffee from Europe. Well, it does smell good. You should get yourself a cup. Whatever coffee's in the house, go ahead and brew it up. Get yourself a cup. Get yourself an Ember mug. Not sponsored either, but this company, Ember, see if I can focus it. Ember mugs. I mean, if you find yourself reheating your cup of coffee, you need one of these things. They're awesome. And somebody out there will say, why pay for a mug like that? Why not just get a cup warmer, right? The difference is with the Ember mug is the Ember mug doesn't burn your coffee. A hot plate will, because it will just sit there and continue to heat your coffee, which it will keep it warm, but eventually if you don't drink it, if it just sits there for too long, you'll start to smell that burned coffee smell. With the Ember mug, you never get that. It just keeps your coffee at the exact temperature you set. What did you call the mug again? The brand is Ember. I just like to hold things in front of the camera. EMBER. I just like to watch the camera focus. I can actually, I'm not sponsored or anything like that. My mother-in-law 2 or 3 Christmases ago got me a mug for Christmas, and it's got to be in the top 3 Christmas gifts I've ever gotten in my entire life. I mean, my Nintendo 64 ranks up pretty high when I was a kid, and then getting the Xbox 360 ranks up there pretty high, or even just the original Xbox. But this thing is definitely in the top 3, top 5 Christmas gifts I've ever gotten. I liked it so much that I bought a second one. So I have one downstairs and I have one upstairs. Bobby builds. Ember is cool. I'll be hacking away on their Bluetooth interface this holiday period for my coffee app. That's awesome, dude. That sounds like a cool project. Danny, that's really nice. I have a friend who does each day of Advent in different language, starting with Haskell. That's incredible. That's a lot. That's incredible that he knows that many languages. Mr. D's nuts. I'm Kenyan. Well, nice. Well, we're drinking coffee from your homeland, man. It's good. It smells delicious. What mouse do you use? So this is I'm gonna look like your classic tech influencer, which I'm not. Let me be clear, I'm not. But I have a Logitech. This is the 3rd generation. I think they just came out with the 4th generation. I put off buying this mouse for so long because I was like, I'm never gonna spend $99 on a mouse, you know. And then it was like the slow escalation. I bought a mug for $20, it broke. Then I bought a mouse. I bought a mouse for $20, it broke. Then I bought a mouse for $60. I bought an MX Anywhere. If you guys have ever used that mouse, it's a Logitech mouse, but it's real small and compact. And then that mouse broke. And so I was like, okay, I'm just gonna do it. And I bought the Logitech MX Master 3S. And so far, I love it. I probably don't use it to its full ability, but I like it. Yeah, it's the MX Master. What Twisted D said, the MX Master is the mouse I use. Where am I? Hi, what are you doing with React? Well, I'm trying to be a halfway decent front-end developer, and I'm trying to build a Buy Me a Coffee website. And so this is what I have so far. It's super pretty. So we're going to do a little bit of styling on it before we have to go to work. So we've got our background. This needs to be a display flex. And actually, you know what? I'm just going to do all this in the browser, and then I'll come back and do it in the code. So this is one of my favorite things to do, is just use the browser dev tools. So let's do header. This is going to be display flex. Whoops. Display flex, and then we'll do flex direction. This column. Woo, that's big. We'll do a gap of, I don't know, 1 rem. And then we need to now constrain the image. So I guess let's do not max width 100%. Let's do width. We'll just set this to 100 pixels. And we'll do aspect ratio. Can't you set this to like 1:1 or something like that? Aspect ratio, CSS. Yeah, 1:1. And then we need to center it, so we'll say, let's go back up here and say justify content center and align items center, like this. And let's not do 1 rem, let's do like 0.5 rem. And let's not do 100 pixels, let's do 350 pixels. Maybe 300 pixels. That seems big, doesn't it? Maybe 250. And that seems just right. See, it's like a Goldilocks effect. So what is that in... Let's see, 350 divided by 16 is 21.875. 21.875 rem. Oops, no space. No, I think we said 250, didn't we? 15.625. 15.625. Yeah. Okay. So let's head over to our editor real quick, and we'll add these styles. So we're gonna do display, flex direction is column. We'll do a gap of 0.5 rem. We'll do, we'll do not margin bottom. I don't know why, but Copilot really likes fucking margins. It loves putting margins on shit. It loves, instead of using like grid or display flex and using gap, it loves to use margin. I don't know why. Harrison Lawton, NeoVim 2, Christmas came early. Yeah, NeoVim. NeoVim's been great. Actually, I have to give a shout out to another YouTuber named TypeScript. I don't know if you guys have heard about his channel, but he was really the person who finally convinced me to try NeoVim. I'd been watching the Primogen work with it on stream for like a couple years, but I didn't really think that it could replace VS Code until I watched this course right here, this NeoVim for Noobs course. It's so good. It might be a little dated now. I don't know if he's updated it recently, so some of the configuration in it might be a little dated, but it was really, really good. My designer brain is about to give me an aneurysm. Oh shit, we have a designer. No. Cursor has a new IDE, drag and drop interface for editing. It's the first time I've ever seen such a tool, and it's quite nice. Ooh, interesting. Little drag and drop IDE. And so I'm guessing the drag and drop then causes your code to get updated. That's pretty cool. Well, just ignore the design, okay? Just don't let it make you bleed from the eyes. Where am I? Dude, I hate React and how it became the industry standard. If you build big project with it, it becomes more of a problem than a solution. I personally prefer vanilla JS with JSX. I don't know if I hate React. I mean, I've used React, Vue, and vanilla, and I've enjoyed using all of them. You know, they all have their benefits and their trade-offs, and I think there are times when I reach for React or I reach for Vue and I think, this is kind of overkill. And then there's times that I reach for JavaScript and I think this is going really well until I have an idea for something, and then it gets 10x more complicated because I didn't use something like React or Vue. So I've had experience with buyer's remorse either way. I think it's that age-old thing of there's a trade-off for every choice, right? So you pick something for its simplicity, great, and then when you want to do something complex, you end up writing a lot more code, and then you pick something for its kind of ease of use, but it adds a lot of complexity. To me, it's neither here nor there. I think use what you enjoy, use what your job tells you to use, and if you're left to make the choice, then use what lights you up. You know, I've personally spent the last year and a half pretty much exclusively building front ends in Vue. But for whatever reason, when we sat down to pick a front end for this thing, we picked React. I have no idea why, but we did. So this is where we're at. What time is it there for you? Are you streaming after you finish the day job for the day? No, usually I stream before I start my work. So it is 6:32 a.m. So my schedule is typically, I kind of went over this a little earlier, but so forgive me if it's repetitive for some of you. Excuse me, I didn't mean to burp in your ear either. My current schedule looks like this. I wake up at 4 o'clock. My feet hit the ground. I brush my teeth, try to run a comb through my hair so I look somewhat decent to be on camera. Then I start streaming at 4:15. I try to do that till about 7 a.m., especially on weekdays, because then at 7 my kids wake up, and then I hang out with my kids until they leave the house, usually like 8 o'clock-ish a.m. And then I start work. I do work from 8 to 5. Normally, most days, 8 to 5. And then from 5 to 8, that's family time. That's kids have basketball practice or just hanging out together in the same room and just kind of spending time with one another until about 8 p.m. Then my kids go to bed at 8 p.m. And then from 8 to whenever I fall to sleep, I usually just try to be available to hang out with my wife. And usually I fall asleep sometime between, I don't know, let's say 8 and 10 o'clock. And then I wake up and repeat that 7 days a week, or I guess 5 days a week. On the weekends, the beginning and the end look the same, but the middle looks different. So that's my general schedule at the moment. Might cave and just buy a PC this month rather than wait till January. Do it. Buy the PC. Do it. The issue with certain software libraries, mix of devs not caring about potential issues and management not caring about even if they're raised. This is fair. Twisted, let it replace Xcode and we can talk. Yeah, I don't think NeoVim's going to replace Xcode for sure. Yeah, somebody asked me the other day, they said, how does NeoVim work for really large .NET solutions? And my honest answer was like, I don't know that I would use it for that, right? Like at work, when I work on our solution at work, I don't use NeoVim there. I use Visual Studio because it's a giant ass solution with a bunch of projects, and I just don't think NeoVim's the right tool there. Now, if you have a .NET solution that's like a project or maybe a handful of projects, you're probably fine, right? So there's definitely there's just again we come back to the trade-offs things. It's like, can you use NeoVim to do stuff like that? Probably. Is it the best tool for the job? You're back into that trade-off conversation. And I'm sure the same thing goes for Xcode. I've never used Xcode, but I'm sure the same thing goes there. It's like, could you get away with doing some programming, the same kind of programming in NeoVim? Probably, but you'd probably always find yourself back there to end with anyway, so why not just use it? Twisted, his schedule is when the rest of the world sleeps. Yeah, essentially. Yeah, that's basically it. So when do you exercise time-wise? So usually, sorry, again, if I repeat myself, I apologize for those of you who maybe feel like I'm repeating myself, but I know viewership here turns over. So typically I work out kind of mid-morning. So like I'll start work, I'll work for like 2-3 hours, and then I'll take a break, go out to the garage gym, get my lift in, then come back in and finish work. Where am I? What is your title or responsibility or work? What do you specialize in? So my title at work is quality engineer. So I basically am responsible for doing manual and automated testing on the software that my company makes. And granted, I should just insert disclaimers here. My YouTube channel has nothing to do with my employer. All thoughts and opinions are my own and do not reflect those of my employer. All those disclaimers. But yeah, those are my role. And then when it comes, so obviously manual testing, that's kind of self-explanatory, right? Like you're just testing software, just like you do locally on your machine when you're building something. For automated testing, I write automated tests that are basically end-to-end tests using TypeScript. I use Playwright and I use the TypeScript API that they provide, I guess you could say it's the JavaScript API, however you want to refer to it. And the reason for that choice was primarily because the Playwright test runner in the TypeScript API is just kick-ass. It has so much functionality out of the box. I don't really know why you would pick one of the other languages unless you absolutely had to. And then I do also do a little bit of work in our .NET solution. To do testing there, like on an actual like test that run against the actual code base versus a deployed version out in production. So that's kind of my primary focus, primary responsibility, I guess, my primary responsibility is to not let bad things happen in production. And I do that through those things, through automated and manual testing. It's a good job, Our software is very complex. It's very challenging. the company I work for is generous, and they've given me lots of opportunity to grow and evolve in my role. And yeah, it's a good job. I'm using a .NET with DirectX 13 and Unreal Engine. Nice. Nothing wrong with .NET, man. I'm all for it. 99 Hams said hi. Hello, 99 Hams. Good to see you. Hope you're doing well. 6-7. He makes sure the code works. Yeah, that's what I do. Yeah. I always tell people I'm a glorified button pusher. I'm an expert clicker of buttons. Now, our software is essentially like, if you know what Salesforce is, right? Or what's another good example? NAN is kind of a similar thing. It's basically like business process automation, but we're specifically focused in a particular vertical. But it's basically a no-code platform. You basically build your own apps, build your own surveys, build your own dashboards, build your own reports. You can basically construct a whole piece of software on top of our software. So it makes for very challenging work, in my opinion. It's time for you to transition immediately to a dev. No, I mean, I like, I get the best of both worlds because I get to work at a place and do work I enjoy and with people I enjoy. And then I can do all the development I want, in my free time for my own needs, at my own direction, at my own speed. So I kind of get the best of both worlds, in my opinion. See you, Twisted. Have a good day, man. Appreciate you showing up to such an early stream. Danny, why don't you use Tailwind instead of plain CSS? It seems easy, I guess. I've used Tailwind in the past. I've also used Bootstrap quite a bit in the past, coming from the .NET world. And I think those utility-first frameworks are absolutely delightful. And I think for a project where there's more than one person building, it makes a heck of a lot of sense to use something like that, because it's just way too easy for developers to write duplicative CSS. It's just so easy for that to happen, that using something like a utility first framework, I think, is really saves a lot of pain and anguish down the line. I use vanilla CSS in my own personal projects mainly because it's only me working on it. And I just feel like, well, I don't need to bring in that extra piece of complexity when I don't really mind writing vanilla CSS. I also kind of like writing vanilla CSS because it keeps me connected to what CSS is, right? It's not a flex class, right? I'm connected to what do these Tailwind classes actually represent. And I know it's like, well, you shouldn't forget that stuff, but when you don't use it, it's kind of like, oh, well, how do you define aspect ratio without using Tailwind? Or how do you create a gradient or a box shadow without using a Tailwind class? That's just a skill that I kind of like to keep sharp. But there's nothing wrong with those at all. Yeah, I never want anyone to think my decision to not use something or to use something is necessarily a reflection on how I feel about it, right? Now, if I don't like something, I'll tell you. Like, for example, I don't use Python because I don't like Python, but I'm not using Tailwind because I don't like Tailwind. I just don't need it or don't feel the need to use it at the moment. 99 Hams. I feel like .NET is one of the hardest languages to justify using NeoVim with. I would agree. It's kind of... I have actually a pretty good experience set up with it, to be honest. Like, I can do most everything that I would do in Visual Studio and Visual Studio Code in NeoVim. The one thing that there's three things that I still reach for something else for. So if I'm doing anything with Razor syntax, I open Visual Studio or Visual Studio Code because my NeoVim configuration doesn't support the Razor LSP. So that's one thing that I don't do in NeoVim. If I have to do any kind of profiling, or if I have to do any type of multi-threaded debugging, I will also use Visual Studio typically for those things. But for most other things like editing text, refactoring, yeah, anything like that, I have a pretty decent experience set up here. I can format my code. I get good autocomplete. I get all the diagnostic messages in here. But I totally understand that. I think that's a very valid point. There is a group of guys. I don't know them. I just know of their work that are working on a easy.net. It's called easy.net neovim.nvim. They're trying to make it so that there's kind of a self-contained plugin that you can plug in to whatever package manager you're using for NeoVim and get up and running. Obviously, there's a lot of caveats because, well, .NET, right? And .NET Core versus .NET Framework and just all the things that are going on there. But I think there are some people trying to make it easier, They're trying to make it more straightforward to do it. I should probably give this plugin a try. It probably makes sense since I'm someone who likes C# and likes NeoVim. It probably makes sense for me to help dog food this, instead of rolling my own configuration. But obviously, who wants to rework their NeoVim config all the time? Not I. Once it works, you kind of just want to enjoy it working. Harrison, great take. It's easy to become rigid with a predefined stack instead of taking each problem as it comes. Yeah. I mean, I feel like that's the things engineers should do. I think that's kind of what makes engineers, right? It's that ability to step back and look at a problem and kind of come at it from a first principles perspective. I mean, obviously, there's something to be said about like picking things that you enjoy working with, but there's also the ability. You should also have the ability to say, yeah, maybe C#'s not the right language for this use case, or maybe Tailwind's not the right thing for this job. And that's not a reflection on those tools, right? It's like not everything. A hammer doesn't solve every problem, right? So. Edge running over. Do you like CSS over Sass? I've actually never written any Sass. What's the other one? Less? I've never worked with any of those pre-processor CSS derivatives. I basically started web development, I think, after those kind of reached their peak adoption, because then modern CSS kind of caught up with some of the functionality that those things provided. Like you can do nested selectors now, you can do custom properties so that you can have basically variables. There's lots of things now that are like even in modern CSS, there's an if. Did you guys know about this? There's an if CSS if. There's an if now in CSS. It's not available everywhere, obviously. There's always the fucking slackers over here who take all damn day to figure out their implementation. But now there's an if. What would you call it? A keyword or an if function, I guess is what you call it. An if function that allows you to do all kinds of crazy, cool stuff. So modern CSS, I think, has kind of not rendered those tools useless, but I guess less useful, right? Because they add complexity to your build process. Blood Moon. I think Roslyn Lua now supports Razor code. It does, but I'm not a Roslyn. I'm not doing Roslyn as my in my NeoVim LSP. I'm using OmniSharp. Actually, I'm using OmniSharp Roslyn, and the reason for that is because Mason, which is the package manager I use to manage all my LSPs, Mason hasn't yet allowed Roslyn to be brought in as an LSP. This PR here kind of walks through some of the thinking behind that. But basically, I've taken the stance that I'm not going to use that Roslyn LSP in NeoVim until Mason accepts it into their official registry, because there seems to be a gray area in terms of if that Roslyn LSP is actually like available, and how available is it, and is there an official channel for support for it from Microsoft. There seems to be some gray area there. But if you're interested in following along when this gets adopted into Mason, you can follow this PR. There's every day there's a new comment, it seems like, of somebody saying, I'd be interested in having this in Mason. So yeah, that's why I don't use Razor in NeoVim. Is really it's a my choice thing to not use the language server protocol. Hey Stefan, I hope your walk was good. I hope you had a good breakfast. Danny, what made you hate Python? Excuse my repetitive questions. I love asking questions. No, feel free to shoot your questions all you want. I'm happy to. We've accomplished the main task for the day, which was admin of code. So now we can focus on the coffee and chat part of the stream. Let's see, Python. It's not that I hate Python, right? It's not that I hate Python, because I use Python sometimes even just to do, like, the last time I used it pretty heavily was I did a data analysis on a bunch of timings that benchmark.net had spit out for me. And it was fine, right? I guess when I work with TypeScript, it clicks. When I work with C#, it clicks. And for whatever reason, with Python, I don't know if it's the way my brain works or the way maybe the way I learned how to program or code. There's just something about the lack of semicolons and the lack of brackets, and the way they do the dunder syntax and the way they do inheritance, and just some of the things about the language that just never really clicked with me. And so it's not that I necessarily hate Python. If you're giving me a choice between Python, C#, TypeScript, Go, I'm probably not picking Python, right? Like, I'm just, So it's not necessarily hate, just not preferred. Also, what's the background music? It's really cool for studying or working at the same time. Yeah, so I'm going to give a huge shout out, because I probably I hope this guy doesn't host this thing himself, because I must cost him a fortune. This is called lo-fi generator. So if you do !lo-fi, Stream Elements will hook you up with the link. It's made by a guy named Dylan Turner, which I also linked to his website there in that Stream Elements message. We actually went and gave him, $10. I think we bought him a coffee for like $10, because I just enjoy his lo-fi generator thing. It's so useful. One, it makes pretty good lo-fi music, and then two, if you're doing any kind of content creation, it's not copyrightable, because it's all algorithmically generated. So you can use it in your videos or your streams, or you don't have to worry about getting a copyright strike against you. So Dylan Turner, lo-fi generator, W's. It was a nice little walk. My doggo made a new friend. Nice, man. That's good. It's good for dogs to socialize. We made a horrible mistake, me and my wife, when we first moved in together. I think I was a freshman in college. This would have been like spring of 2016. This would have been spring of 2012 when we moved in together. And we got a dog like in the first month or two of living in our apartment. And we were super busy. I was busy with school. She was working. I was doing personal training and school and work. It was just a busy time. And we were super bad about socializing that dog as a puppy. And we paid the price for the rest of that dog's life, man. It was awful. I mean, he wasn't awful. It was our fault that we made him that way in a lot of ways. That he wasn't very sociable with other animals or other people. Looking back now, I blame myself. Making a non-hackable game, you know how to stop it from the source, usually binary code. I really appreciate you, 67 Alaska, and I appreciate all the super chats you send me, but I'm just not following the conversation. I apologize. Stefan, poor dog. Yeah, I'm sorry, but if you don't have time for a dog, don't get a dog. You're right. You're 100% right. And we loved that dog, and we took really good care of the dog. We just kind of dropped the ball on the socialization factor. We should have taken him to maybe the dog park when he was, growing up as a puppy, and we got it. So another family had adopted him, and then decided that I don't know what the issue was, but they didn't want him anymore. So we took him in, and he was a great dog. He was loving, and he really loved my wife, and he could be a really sweet animal, but he also kind of had this just kind of low dislike, right, for people and dogs he didn't really know. Um, yeah, so I have to take an L on that one. Oh. Somebody send me a LinkedIn connection? One of you guys send me a LinkedIn connection? Nice. Oh, two of you sent me a LinkedIn connection. Very nice. Very kind of you guys. I don't know if those folks are still here, but... Alright, back to trying to make my thing look halfway styled. Let's see. Let's try to see if we can't get the header looking halfway decent. So we got it centered, and then we're gonna do header image, and let's set that to it was like what was it, 250 divided by 16. Yes, 15.625. Let's see, width is 15.625. Rim, set an aspect ratio of 1:1, and then we're also going to set a border radius of 50%, so it looks like a circle. Do I want that? I don't know if I want that. Do I want a circle, or do I want actual rounded corners? I think that was all we set, right? Border radius, we did background, gap, display. Okay. So this obviously needs to be bigger. This could be smaller. We need some padding around that. Probably want like a box shadow so that there's some separation between here and here. So maybe a box shadow there on the bottom edge. Yeah. And then maybe actually let's set this to like 12 rim. And let's do a border radius of, what's the border radius on our form? 25 rim. Yeah, let's do square. Let's be different. Squares, circles, such artistic choices I'm making here. And then we need some padding in the header itself. We'll do a padding of, I guess, we can do 1 rim, that's fine. Let's see. And then we obviously need to do something between the card and the, I haven't quite figured that out yet. So I'm gonna change this to my profile picture for GitHub. I kind of like using my profile picture from GitHub because then if I ever need to update my profile picture, I can just change it on GitHub and it'll flow through all the sites that I have it referenced on, which is kind of nice. So we can do app.tsx. Excuse me. There we go. And then I want to have, do I want a box shadow or an actual border? I kind of think I want maybe like both. Let's do it. Let's see what this looks like. So let's put a, I've been seeing Flation. I've been seeing lots of your content on my feed recently. Good content. Well, thank you very much, man. I appreciate you stopping by to just say hello and leave a kind message. We need more folks like you on the internet. It's very, very kind. What's up, Guilo Gamer Pro? Good to see you, sir. How are you doing? Okay, so we're gonna do header image. Let's do a border. Let's do 2 pixels. I think that might be the purple. I think that looks fine. I think I want it to be maybe a little thicker, and then let's add a box shadow to it so there's a little bit of depth. So let's do, yeah, box shadow. We could actually extract this into a separate property too. I think border radius and box shadows are something that should be defined with like a custom property on the root element. That way you can reuse it everywhere and have consistency. Like all these colors, I'll probably move all these colors to the root and just reference them with a custom property. It's too easy to pick the wrong size of things and have inconsistency. I think that needs to be a little bigger, doesn't it? Maybe we do, let's double it and see what happens. It might also be kind of hard to see on the background. Yeah, you can't really see it. It's there, but it's so fucking faint. There's probably some sort of math to like tell you how to pick the right border or right box shadow. Let's see. Tab. How to pick proper box shadow color for darker background. Hey, what's up, Gun? Good to see you, man. How you doing? Match the surface color. A realistic shadow is a darker version of the surface it's cast on. Yeah, that makes sense. Designing beautiful shadows in CSS. Okay, so I have a crazy idea. What if we invert? Is it gonna be too much if we invert the colors? Yeah, let's see what it looks like. I'm just curious. So let's do, instead of this, let's do a background color of this. And we're gonna do white. Yeah, that's fine. And then we'll leave that all the same. Let's see what that looks like. Ugh, I don't think that looks good, does it? There's not enough contrast between the text. Yeah, I'm going back. Vinix, I think is how you say your name. Vinix, thanks for subscribing. I appreciate you, sir. Okay, so we need to figure out how we make a good box shadow for this. Box shadow on a darker color. This is what I was looking for. This looks like a pretty good article. I've scaled the web, and the only suggestion I see is to make the shadow actually light. The final solution I can think of is to make the background lighter. Here's an option to make your required dark shadow on a dark background. This is done in Illustrator. So radial gradient. I mean, I see what he did. That looks kind of cool. Yeah. Yeah, it's kind of a problem. Like a shadow sort of requires you to... Oh, that's kind of cool. Like we could do like a hue. Okay. Let's try that. So let's see what that looks like. So this is our color. What's the RGB value of this? My wife just sent me a really funny text. They have a dentist appointment this morning, and she said, "Who schedules a dentist appointment for 8 a.m.?" This person, meaning herself. Let's see. Hex to RGB. Oh, that's not what I wanted. What was the value? I always forget how to copy things properly. Somebody can probably do the conversion in their head, can't they? Copy that. Put that here. To 0.1. See what that looks like. I can barely see it. Sorry, your name ran off the side of the screen, but thank you for subscribing. Your name is Vadam. Vidam. Vadam. Thank you for subbing, man. Appreciate it. It's very kind of you. Yeah, I don't know. Maybe the border's enough. I'm kind of obsessing over this, but this is my process. I'm just such a shitty designer. No. Okay. Forget the shadow. Forget the shadow. Gun, I'm doing well, man. Yeah, just another day. I gotta actually. Oh, it's 7 o'clock. I actually need to wrap up what we're doing here and head to work. Or not head to work, but get ready for work. Let's add a box shadow to the bottom of the header, though. Okay, that. I think it could be a little. Let's do padding, one rim. I think it could be a little stronger. I never remember what the values for these things are. Box shadow generator. Let's do. So opacity is 0.1. We have, what do we have? We have, our numbers currently are 0, 4, and 8. Zero. Whoops, shift. 4 and 8. Why don't I see anything though? Alright, I'll just play with the numbers. So 8 and make this 16. Let's go to index.cs and let's go down to main and we'll put some padding one rem. Yeah, I just want to give the appearance that this is sitting over the top of the other thing. God, that's so, it's like so subtle. Let's do, hold on, what if I do, if I make this just like super dark? There we go. Now we can really see it. Okay, so that's the blur. And that's the spread. So let's go here. Let's jack up the blur. And then now we just need to control the alpha. Browser dev tools are so underrated, aren't they? Like, who needs a box shadow generator app when you got the dev tools? I mean, I actually think it almost looks better with a harder edge. Okay, I'm gonna do this. Yeah, I get down with that. And then probably need to move this a little bit further away from the top, maybe. Right? I think this would look better if we did main. So let's do padding top. Let's set that. Yeah, let's do 2 rem. Let's see what that looks like. Yeah, that's better. So the idea is for this form to basically be centered, and then we're going to have like a feed of people, or like a list of anybody that's actually donated, right? Will be somewhere on this page somewhere. I don't really know where yet. But ideally I want it to look primarily be well suited for mobile. So it's sort of designed for mobile first and then worry about the larger screens later. Unfortunately, that's about all the stuff. I told you I'm a slow developer. I'm not very fast. I'm hand carving. I'm writing code like a caveman nowadays. Everyone else would just fire up a Claude Code terminal and go for it. Out of interest, how come you do these streams? I want to see what's your motivation out of curiosity. Why YouTube, not Twitch? Also, you stream every day. Okay, so we can answer that. So the biggest motivation is largely a selfish one. I have noticed that my personality tends, or that I have noticed that for whatever reason, I'm wired in such a way that I feel happier and more motivated when I'm making progress at something, right? Whether it be saving money, improving a skill, getting stronger in the gym, whatever that is, the more progress I can see in my life unfolding in whatever place, the better I feel about life, the more motivated I feel, the more optimistic I feel. I've also found that whenever I find an activity that makes me feel that way, that makes me feel more motivated, more excited, more optimistic, I should pursue that activity. And so streaming kind of combines two things that I've found over the years. Is I really enjoy making stuff, whether that be writing a blog post, making a video, building a website, I don't know, just building things, creating things. The act of creating things is one of those activities that makes me feel more motivated, makes me feel more inspired, makes me want to show up in a positive way in my life. And so I kind of am combining those two things where I'm making content and I'm getting a chance to work on a skill that I care about, which is programming and coding. So that's really the primary motivation. It's very selfish. It's just about making myself feel better, and that has downstream consequences in how I show up in other places in my life, as a dad, as a husband, as a coworker, right, as a son, as a brother, all those things. So it's very selfish in that sense. Why do YouTube? So I originally started streaming on Twitch last year during Advent of Code. Twitch, though, was like a ghost town. So then I moved to streaming on YouTube. Then I started streaming on YouTube and TikTok, which is how the vertical format came about, because I wanted to stream to TikTok, and TikTok is primary vertical first. But when I switched to streaming vertical, I had way more interaction on YouTube than anywhere else for the first time. And that was a lot of fun. It was fun to be able to interact with people while I do this stuff. And so then I dropped TikTok and just kept streaming vertically to YouTube, and have stayed doing that for the last year or so, last 9 months, 10 months. As far as stream every day, yes, I try to stream every day. And it's very easy to make that happen, because when it's 4 o'clock in the morning, there's really nothing else to do besides like do what you want to do. So if you get up at 4 o'clock, you can pretty much do anything. You know, you go to the gym. There's not an excuse to go to the gym at 4 o'clock in the morning. There's nothing else at 4 o'clock in the morning competing with your time. So it's very easy to be consistent with it. How do I connect with you on LinkedIn? You should be able to just send. Oh, you sent me a connection. Nice. Thank you. I will happily accept it, Stefan. I accepted, man. Ba-ding. Thank you. Of course, yeah, I'm always happy to answer your questions. All NeoVim devs are blazingly fast, though. I'm not fast. I'm very slow, and I know that about myself. Once I get into the flow and I know what I want to accomplish, I can move pretty quickly. But whenever I'm not, like if you gave me a design, right, I could move quickly. Like if I was copying somebody's design, I can move quickly. But once you start talking about implementing a user interface and I have to come up with the design and the implementation, all of a sudden I become like a tortoise. And I kind of like obsess over like all the which I think would probably make me a pretty good front-end dev from an implementation perspective. Like if I had a designer and they gave me a design and I had to implement it, I think they would be pretty happy working with me, because I really do care about all the details. But it makes me slow on my own personal projects. What time zone am I in? I'm in the Central Standard Time. So actually you can type Marshall, thanks for subbing. You can actually type where bro at, and that'll hook you up with all my details. But it'll give you the weather, it'll give you my time zone, give you my city. But yeah, Central Standard. Well, folks, Yeah, commands too. That'll tell you all the different things you can do with the exclamation point. Thanks to the good folks over at Stream Elements. All right, folks, you know what time it is. How many of us are here? I think there's like 20 of us, which is a pretty good number for into my streams. Yeah, 20 of us. Hey, that's pretty good. All right, guys. We'll see, Stefan. Have a good day, man. Okay, so normal wrap up because I got to go to work, or I got to get ready for work. If you're new here and you want to hang out and interact with us outside of the stream, the best place to find us is Discord, which Stream Elements I know has been posting the link, but I'll post it one more time for you. If you're curious about joining, you're obviously no pressure. There's no expectation you join, just in case you want to talk outside of stream. We're there. As far as my schedule goes, we kind of talked about it a couple different times today, but my schedule is basically 4:15 a.m. to 7 a.m. That's when I try to stream every day of the week, and sometimes I go a little longer on the weekends. As far as content that you can expect while I stream, it's going to be Advent of Code until the 24th, and then after that we'll get back to working on side projects primarily. What those side projects are, it'll vary by the day. So if you enjoyed the vibes here and you enjoyed the folks in chat, please come back. We'd love to see you again. And if it's just to say hi, if you just see me live and you want to stop in and say, hey, what's up, Steven? That's totally cool too. All right, folks. I hope you guys have a great rest of your Wednesday. Have an even better Thursday. If it's already Thursday, obviously have a good Thursday because time zones are weird like that. And I'll talk to you guys later. Glad to have come across. Well, we appreciate you, Harrison. We appreciate you being here, man. Glad you found us. XD W stream, appreciate that. It was a fun stream. It was a really good Advent of Code day. I mean, I solved Advent of Code in like all of 40 minutes or something like that. So it was a good day. Yep. All right, chat. Bye, Stefan. Bye, 6-7 Alaska. Bye, Harrison. Bye, XD. Who else is in chat? I think that might be everybody. N1 NPO. Bye. See you, man. All right. Bye, chat. Bye. See you guys. Have a good day. Fly Sean. See you, man. Bye, dude. Appreciate you. You guys have a good day.